Good afternoon to. We'll start in a few minutes. Thank you.
Bienvenidos y buenas tardes a todos. Muchas gracias por acompañarnos.
Welcome and good afternoon to one and all. Thank you so much for joining in. My name is Salvador, and along with my colleague Maria Esperanza, we will be here and accompany you through during the event. We will talk about what we feel and what is in our minds, mental health. At the same time, we would like to advise we have simultaneous interpretation into Portuguese and English. To do so, please click on the globe below your screen and choose the language of your preference. Besides this, the event is being transmitted on Facebook and in YouTube in the following countries: Peru, Mexico, Bolivia, Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, Paraguay, Ecuador, Uruguay, El Salvador, Venezuela, and Guatemala. Welcome to one and all. Welcome to hashtag On My Mind. Maria Esperanza, how are you doing today? Hello, Chava. How nice to share this space with you. I would like to say hello to one and all, those that are seeing us and those that can hear us in our country. We're here because every year UNICEF launches the state of the world's children, and for the very first time in history, this report is dedicated to mental health. Over the next hour, we're going to share some data from the report, talk about the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, the importance of breaking the silence, addressing stigma, and taking children's and adolescents' experiences seriously. To start with, we would like to share these videos where young people from Argentina share how they experience their mental health.
Sobreviví a
I
muchas.
am a survival. I've survived many situations, bullying, depression, stepping out of the closet, many things that I prefer not to get into details. My life has been hard. At age 15, I almost committed suicide. The bottom is basically not having any other alternative. Everything heals. Everything has salvation, except for love. After my second suicide attempt, I sought professional help and I met the woman that saved my life. She heard me without saying anything, and I told her all of my problems. She recommended bands to listen to. She gave me tasks to improve my self esteem, and in this way, I was able to move ahead. We want you to know you're not alone, and even you don't see it, there are others that suffer as you do, and there's always someone to hear you. The truth is, it's very difficult for us to see this type of videos. I also feel emotional when I get to know other people's experiences. And I would like to say that maybe we have met someone that has felt in this way, and maybe Maria Esperanza, maybe we are that someone. That is correct, Chava. And truthfully, it's a reality for one and all in the region. In the last 20 months, children and adolescents have spent a lot of time out of school, staying at home, isolated from their friends, and in many cases, facing the loss of loved ones due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Latin American and Caribbean region has experienced the longest school closures in the world since the pandemic began. Children and adolescents are confined, and at the same time, they have lost 153 days of face to face learning, support, and interaction with friends, and this has undoubtedly affected our well
Recording
being.
in progress.
I completely agree, and now I believe that you and I have spoken much, and I think it's moment for us to ask the audience and those that are
Recording
listening to us
stopped.
from home to go ahead and participate with us. We would like
Recording
to
in
listen to their
progress.
voice and their experiences during the pandemic. We're going to share a Mentimeter, and please use one word to explain how you have felt during the pandemic. You can use the QR code or access the website that shows up on screen. You may answer as many times as you want. Try to use a different word that represents you in each time. So tell us, how did you feel during the pandemic? And as we wait for the outcomes and as or the results and as our participants screen the QR code, how about you tell me, Shaba, how have you felt during the pandemic? It's been an emotional roller coaster for me, and I am sure that with the results we will see soon enough, we will see that I am not the only one that has gone through this situation in this way. How about you? Well, I must tell you that at the beginning, during the pandemic, I felt a little bit anxious, a bit suffocated in the house since I was used to several physical activities. Little by little, I've gotten used to it and managed it in different ways. So let's go ahead and view some answers, some comments from the young people and children and adolescents that have joined our session. So they feel sad, anxious, alone, overwhelmed, depressed, bored. Chava, do you want to continue reading what our Mentimeter states? Well, I can tell you that without eyeglasses, I can read anxious, sadness, as you have stated. I believe that this is a common feeling to everyone throughout these months. I truly feel identified with what has been detailed. Alone, these are feelings that undoubtedly they will help us in several occasions. And of course, just as I mentioned in the Mentimeter, please, as you can see, the word that is mostly repeated is anxious. And it's just that the pandemic has taught us something, and it's definitely that our mental health is profoundly sensitive to the world around us, and it depends very much on our life circumstances, the relationships we build, and the opportunities at hand. Let's continue, Chava. We already read some of the results. What's next? Well, look, I think it's very interesting to see everything that was recently shared. It's about getting to know how they feel and become empathic about this sensation. I believe it's fantastic to be able to view this information. Now, let me share some important information that comes in the State of the World's Children report. And it states that nearly 16 million adolescents aged 10 and 19 in our region are estimated to have a diagnosed mental disorder. This means that that's more than 15% of adolescents in our region. Today, Maria Esperanza, we have two young people, youth groups from the region that are here to talk about mental health and their experiences. Gabriel is from Argentina. He is 18 years old. He's a young man with Asperger and is part of the Meta network and regional network of young people with and without disabilities. And at the same time, we will share with Ana Beatriz, who is Brazilian, a psychologist student who works in a mental health care service established with the support of UNICEF Brazil. Ana will speak in Portuguese, so for those who do not speak Portuguese, please choose the interpretation option below the screen. Gabo, Ana, thank you so much for joining in. I hope this practice helps greatly and helps everyone to think about the matters. Gabriel, as a member of a network of young people with and without disabilities, what can you tell us about the impact of COVID-19 on young people in the network? What have been the difficulties faced by Meta young youth during the pandemic? Well, hello. Greetings to one and all. My name is Gabriel Heredia, and I am part of Meta, a young a group of a youth network with disabilities. A network of young people without disabilities. I will now go ahead and share what we have lived in the last months. We have faced emotional obstacles, accessibility issues that during the pandemic have become a more serious scenario. A colleague from during the pandemic was having difficulties to access the course because she was not able to access the platform. Another colleague with visual impairment, they sent her the material in images and the screen reader was not able to process the information. In my case, there was very extensive material and they did not use a simplified language. And obviously, it's not the same for your teachers to teach you through Zoom versus presential classes. And we were not able to enjoy the same level of knowledge exchange and learning experiences as we would do in a classroom. And of course, this places us in a greater disadvantage when I address young people with and without disabilities. At the beginning of the pandemic, I felt very uncertain. I believe I felt very tense. It was a tense situation. I even felt scared about stepping outside. I would stay in my room throughout the entire day, or maybe step outside and play with the computer, maybe step outside from my room, but not away from my house. Basically, step outside of the house for a duty. I thought that the virus was everywhere. But the point is that I always felt hopeful that at some given point in time, the situation would improve. Cabo, how interesting what you have just shared. I believe this has allowed us to open our panorama and understand the scenarios. I would also like to ask you, what changes have you observed among your friends during this time? And something that I truly believe is interesting, how have you been able to support each other? Well, during the pandemic, Meta conducted several sessions to support young people, recreational activities, also cultural activities to include the different young people that are part of the network. We developed a project called Consejo de Impares in Spanish, which was basically about speaking among peers on how we are facing the pandemic, and we were including different dynamic activities such as inclusive dance. From Meta, we decided to become part of this initiative to support with a project which is called Diversity with Our Culture. We met every week to play bingo, riddles, different artistic expressions, and soon enough we will share a video on this activity and other activities that Meta will add in the future. In these spaces, we were able to develop a contention network, feel close, even though we were far away. We would support each other in emotional and sad situations. And we were able to get to know other cultures, other countries, that and other participants part of Meta. If we wanted to talk to somebody, we knew there was someone available. Meta was available. So how interesting. S- Thank you so much for what you have just shared. I would like to switch now to Ana Beatriz. Are you with us, Ana Beatriz? Seems like yes. Ana Beatriz, can you please share which is your role in the mental health care service? What are the most common reasons young people contact you?
Olá, eu sou atendente de um site chamado Pode Falar. É um canal de ajuda em saúde mental para jovens
Hello.
identificados com
Yo soy, I am from OSIDE, which is an assistant channel for young people between 13 and 24 years of age. They provide a space and a specific attention provided through messages. The reasons why they contact us vary. In each case, maybe
ideação suicida,
sometimes it's just about being
fraude,
able to
falta de
talk.
interesse no
Sometimes
trabalho,
it's what they need
confiança
merely.
na amizade,
Some reasons could be
problemas na escola, problemas na faculdade, dificuldades
sexual
na relação
abuse.
com família, com os amigos,
We are not receiving the audio. There are different
questões
difficulties, such as their relationship with their families, relationships with their boyfriends, girlfriends, matters related to gender, difficulties to express themselves as well. But those are some of the reasons. For example, maybe they don't feel well, and if this is the case, they may contact us. How interesting the information you shared, Ana Beatriz. Thank you so much. I truly imagine that every case is a different person. So I imagine there's always a constant, and you just learn from each of them. And I believe that's incredible. I would like to ask you, which strategies or advices do you believe mostly help adolescents in situations in which their mental health is affected?
A minha principal estratégia é a escuta, deixar com que os jovens expressem de forma espontânea e estar
The
atento
main strategy is basically for young people to be able to express themselves and in order for them to be attentive when these feelings start. As you may
momento.
know, the pandemic is definitely
Apoio,
a matter that may intensify or that will make a feeling appear. For example, you need to intensify and strengthen their relationship networks and their trust networks, and in this way identify which is the possibility the young person has in order for them to occupy in very specific activities. So when they're sad, we are not exactly able to identify specifically what's going on. We do know there's a need. I also advise for them to take therapy, and of course, every case is different. How interesting the information you just shared, Ana Beatriz. I believe the fact that there is a support network at this given point in time where we do require so much support could be the starter point in order for us to try to feel better. And if not, therapy is always a tremendous tool. Thank you so much, Gabriel and Ana Beatriz, for sharing this information. We will address you later.
Justamente lo que nos mencionaba Ana Beatriz y Gabriel es lo que
I
representa
believe that this reflects the data from the State of the World's Children 2021. Some of this data basically highlights that anxiety and depression represents almost 50% of mental health conditions amongst adolescents between 10 and 19 years of age in the region. Girls are twice as likely to suffer from these disorders as their male peers. Another important fact from the report is the fact that suicide is the third leading cause of death among adolescents aged 15 and 19 in the region. Every day, more than 10 adolescents lose their lives by suicide in Latin America and the Caribbean. That's almost 4,200 youth suicides per year. And these figures are not only the result of the pandemic. Our mental health is affected for a variety of reasons. These figures alert us to the seriousness of the problem. We can no longer remain silent, and we need to take action. Whenever it's the moment to do so, we need to do so in favor of our mental health.
Así es, estoy de acuerdo contigo, Chava, y
That is
también
correct. I completely agree with you, Chava. And truthfully, it's about the fact that for us children and adolescents, we find it difficult to talk about our feelings. And in many cases, it's because we fear comments, laughter, stigma that may lead to discrimination. It silences our voices, not just around us, but globally. It's very important for us to understand that our mental health may change throughout our lives. There are moments in which we may be able to enjoy our lives and cope with both good days and bad days. But at the same time, we may experience periods of depression, distress, and even suffer from a mental health disorder that may last longer. As I was stating before, Maria Esperanza, and really like your analogy. Mental health sometimes is basically how our lives advances. Sometimes we will say, wow, look at where I am right now. And there are other moments that everything that rises must go down as well. And precisely on those moments where we're going down, where we're about to hit bottom, it's important for us to know we do have tools and resources to help each other and support each other in case we need it. Now let's view some videos sent by young people from the region where they share solutions and actions they have implemented to preserve their mental health and of their peers during the pandemic. We are not receiving audio. I believe we I believe the video is playing, but we need to share the audio. Standing by. Standing by.
Hola, mi nombre es Ana y hoy día vengo a contarles un
Hello, my
poquito
name
más.
is Ariadna, and today I would like to share a little bit about antidote mental health. And everything started because I started in 2020 with the Latin American Leadership Academy. I learned that one of the issues that mostly affected us was basically mental health, and we decided to establish Antidote Mental Health, which is a young people network or youth network that helps other young people in their communities. The pandemic affected us more and more, especially affecting our mental health, depression, anxiety, and we knew we couldn't remain with our arms folded. Since last year, we have developed different activities in order for us to promote the care of mental health within our community. It is very important for us to include our voice. There is no health without mental health, and Antídoto knows this. Our project Cultura lasted about 9 months, and this group was composed by people with and without disability from Argentina, Uruguay, Nicaragua, and Guatemala. It was thought for us to generate a recreational space, mostly focus on people with disabilities to assist them during the COVID-19 pandemic. Well, we were working with a group of people that during the quarantine were a little bit depressed and anxious. We started working with the entire team during Tuesdays. They started working and participating. Basically, we were able to take advantage of the moment, and I can say that started feeling much better from there on. Hello, my name is Florencia. I would take my classes online. I would sit down in front of my desk and I would listen to my podcast. These were obligations. I started to do so through exercises, listening to music, but I was in a dilemma. I felt alone, but I didn't want to talk to anybody. And I wasn't the only one. There were thousands and thousands of adolescents that were feeling just like me. I decided that this needed to change and I had to help others. So this is why I decided to gather to generate a change. Hello, my name is Karim, and just like Florencia stated, we did not feel correctly. It didn't feel monotonous. Play video games. I felt alone. I was not the only one. So with Florencia, we decided to create a Discord group to speak with other adolescents, tell our problems, create more friendships. And it was interesting because you're able to get to know others, understand their realities, become informed. This was something that we were lacking, definitely.
Siento algo en el corazón ver a muchos adolescentes
It's great to see so many children and adolescents from the region. They're seeking and they are agents of positive change for their families, for their friends, for their community. It's so important for us to speak about what concerns us. And just like physical health, mental health is a right and it must be taken into consideration as a positive matter. When we ignore mental health issues in our societies, we shut down the conversation and mostly we reinforce stigma. We prevent children and caregivers, children, adolescents, and caregivers from seeking the help they require. Now, we would like to hear from you and again share which are the strategies you have applied and what has worked for you to protect your mental health. Once again, please launch your Mentimeter or scan the QR code for your opinion. Maria Esperanza, I think that this is definitely a great benefit for me and for you and for me because I am sure from this information we will be able to extract two or three strategies for people. What do you think about this? I think that we must be very creative. They should explode the Mentimeter with their creative ideas. So I hope that I may be able to learn from their strategies, from their ideas. I believe I have my book and my pen ready. So please tell me, what do you do to care for your mental health and for those that are nearby? What can you say, Maria Esperanza? What have you been able to care for your mental health? I enjoy dancing, and I believe it was a source of inspiration. It's a way for me to be able to become closer to a way of handling my mental health and managing my mental health during the pandemic. Thank you so much. Every week, I had a video call with my friends, and since we couldn't meet, I think that through a video call you feel closer.
creo que eso fue una
I
estrategia
think that's what our participants are stating. It's about talking to your friends, listening, dancing, doing exercises, listening to music, so many ideas, a great collage from the region with this great strategies. I think that at the beginning somebody said adopt a cat. What an incredible strategy, adopting a cat.
sino también ya
Very good for your mental health and very good for the animals to our environment in general. Exactly, Maria Esperanza. And now that we have seen the strategies shared by our friends, let's talk about the results from the State of the World's Children report in comparison to the results in our Mentimeter. And I can say that the State of the World's Children explain that the mental health of children and young people is shaped by the world around them. They depend, their well-being depends on the support they receive from their families, parents, and caregivers. Their environment also matters. For example, schools play a unique role in our lives and can either help us or harm us. Great, Maria Esperanza. We are now ready to move on to the next dialogue. We would like to invite two teenagers that, for different circumstances, they've had to care for their mental health. We will. We are joined by Andrea, a 19-year-old Peruvian writer who is currently studying literature and playwriting. We're also joined by Ariadne from Venezuela, who is 17 years old and is in her fifth year specializing in advertising design, and Maria Beatriz from Brazil as well. Let's speak with Andrea. Andrea, thank you so much for joining in. You have an incredible TED Talk where you talk about your experience with depression. From that experience, what do you think is the role of parents to be able to better understand and mostly support those children who are going through something similar like you? I believe parents' role is about understanding more instead of judging themselves about their children. In my experience, what tends to happen is when a child or an adolescent requests for help, they what parents ask themselves is, what did I do wrong? What did I do incorrectly as a parent? And I think that depression has many other situations, hormones, genetics, traumas, which are not they're not necessarily someone's fault. So I think that what's best for parents is about eliminating the guilt. Maybe it's their fault, maybe it's not. And maybe if we're in this situation where we cannot avoid it, then what are we going to do about it? Because if you tell this to parents, and if you're a psychologist or a therapist, maybe you tell them this is what you're doing, and maybe this is why your child is in this way. If this is the case, their parents become defensive because they don't believe this is something that they have caused to their children. So maybe an exchange and more compassion. I believe that few parents will damage their or affect their children. I think it's understandable. Totally. Communication is crucial, as you stated. Instead of becoming worried about why this happened, let's go ahead and find a solution instead of blaming each other. Collaborative work between parents and their children is crucial to support this type of situations. Andrea, I would like to ask you, while you went through your depression, can you please tell us how you continue going to school? So, what is the school's role for children and adolescents that are facing mental health situations? I think more training, understanding, and less judging. For me, in order for them to protect me from myself, they they in, I became became a patient in a psychiatric hospital for 2 weeks, very depressive. My birthday, I spent it in the psychiatric center. Now, there was no therapy. They just locked me down. Nothing for me to improve. So I just wanted to go back to school, and they did not let me go back to school. The director said that for my security and for the other students' safety, they couldn't leave me. They couldn't allow me to go back to school. And I feel I understand because people believe that it's on purpose, the fact that you have mental health issues. But even so, the professor, with all the education in the world, she still saw a depressed girl, young girl, and she just said no. And this was in the middle of COVID, so I felt in the most isolated situation that I could have ever felt. Maybe I didn't even want to go to school, even if maybe I didn't even want to go back to school, but I did. So I don't want for this. I don't expect for schools to have a psychiatric doctor available for us. That's another situation. But if you're in the middle of a crisis, instead of thinking that it's not your job, maybe provide assistance. I completely agree with you. I believe that having access to information that teaches us how to take action will definitely help us a lot. Sometimes we become scared because we don't understand the situation, and if that is the case, we cannot become empathic about it. So, definitely, available information, we inform more about the situations, and definitely these are specific activities that can help in this type of situation. Thank you so much. Going back to Ana Beatriz, please. Ana Beatriz, are you with us? Can you hear us? Perfect. Ana Beatriz. Andrea just spoke about how parents, I believe you work in a psychosocial service. How do you believe these services must be established in order for adolescents to understand and in order for them to approach these available services?
Os serviços, ele, quando dialogar com a
The services, in order for adolescents to access and receive the necessary support whenever there's an exchange with adolescents,
psicólogo, família, ele vai ser
first, the contact is completely confidential.
não vai fazer parte, ele vai ser incluído.
And if they provide
Não precisa,
any information,
não pode falar
they
as mensagens
need to understand they will be included in this information and on in the decisions. It's not they like they're apart from it. We we don't necessarily know where this person is coming from or their age. We just know the cause. And in several occasions, the fact that we are young, the fact that they're able to share their difficulties face to face helps. So, in order for them to contact the service, I believe they should feel there's access to the service. Those that offer the attention must provide empathy. They must allow them to feel the service is accessible. I came here because a friend of mine advised me to assist the location, and probably they can go ahead and address the situation. I believe it's a very important way to address the matter. I believe this is the part that you were telling us recently. You don't know who is speaking, and precisely this is a space in order for them to contact someone. And precisely it's about being able to approach mental health services. Definitely, this is a fantastic idea, what you just shared. Thank you so much. Now, Ariadne. Hello. Great. I believe you migrated from Venezuela to Costa Rica, the Pura Vida country, but these changes are not always simple. Can you please tell us about your experience and why did you decide to join UNICEF Safe Spaces to support other children in your situation? Well, thank you so much for the invitation. And yes, I arrived Costa Rica in March 2019 requesting for a refugee along with my mom. I practice theater. I am in theater and dance since I am very young. I spent 24/7 dancing in rehearsals and presentations. And once I arrived in Costa Rica was precisely the changing routine. It was about always being busy to now literally just going to school. It gave me too much free time, and what I did was think about things too much. I felt very alone, and as a matter of fact, I even thought that leaving was a very bad decision. The feeling, the sensation lasted a few months until my mom found a theater company where you were able to meet others that share the same passion, and now they're part of my family. Yes, and now, when UNICEF provides the proposal, the safe spaces proposal, I loved the idea since it's the perfect opportunity to help children and adolescents that are in the same situation as I was. The fact that they're migrants, and I believe it's not about making the experience something sad and tragic, but on the other hand, something beautiful that is filled with hope. So, what better way than theater and artistic and arts to be able to control your emotions, to express your feelings, and to get to know yourself? Ariadne, I don't believe I could possibly imagine how it feels for you to adapt, to readapt to a country, to a new culture. I believe that this is a reality for many of us because of the pandemic. We had a very interesting rhythm in our lives from this to that and to the other. And in more than a year ago, we were in quarantine, we were locked down. So I believe I definitely share the feeling. Something else. When you spoke about theater, I believe that it's a catharsis for you to express what's in you, being able to move, act, and project your feelings. I think it's definitely an excellent way for you to channel your feelings, for you to share your feelings. Now, one more question. What is the message you would like to share to parents and caregivers and to girls, boys, and adolescents that are going through similar situations? Well, I am leading a theater presentation. I really love it since it was my first presentation as an actress, and now I am going to direct it for the very first time. I feel very emotional, very excited, very nervous at the same time. And I truly enjoy seeing how children grow and learn as much as I did. In Innocence is a play that speaks about 11 orphan children that suffered of domestic violence. In This is something common in the world we live in. It tries to help adults reflect on the matter, become aware of their actions, because everything that they do right now will definitely cause an effect in children's lives, and they're innocent to it. And it's also about creating empathy towards those children that feel abandoned, or those that are abandoned, or those that feel alone, or those that have any problem whatsoever. Innocence, the play, shows us that even though they're going through problems, they always look for the good side in everything. Children do. They learn how to live together, learn from their differences, and overcome them. And definitely, this helps me to care for children and adolescents' mental health, and at the same time, for children's mental health, this innocence, in order for this not to be taken away from anyone. And the play states that children is the happy memory from yesterday, today's representation, and the hope for tomorrow. And definitely, children are the future. It's very important for us to care for them. And it's incredible to see that with your experience, you've been able to channel this energy to help others. Definitely something to admire. To wrap up with this section, I have a question for everyone, but I would like to include Gabo on this one question. So, Gabo, if you could please join in. The question is, what message do you have for adolescents who are facing mental health issues or problems, or who wish to care for their mental health? Gabo, if you could please start. Well, truthfully, the objective would be to not remain silent. Look for those that you can trust, those that you know you can share what you're going through in order for them to support you. In several occasions, this is not something we are able to accomplish, and then maybe your mind might make you go through uncomfortable situations. But I believe that sometimes it's necessary for us to go through several obstacles until you can meet your objective. That in this case, it's our own well being and our mental health. Thank you so much. Learning to communicate what we feel is definitely a tremendous tool, Gabo. You are completely right. Andrea, what do you have to say to our participants? I would recommend to spend your free time in awareness activities. For example, write maybe half a page per day. It helps you develop your emotional intelligence and your capacity to understand yourself. You cannot solve a problem you are not able to recognize. So that's the first step. The self-awareness process that you mentioned, Andrea, I think is very important for us to know how we feel, be able to express it. And I believe this is something extremely important, not just at this given point in time, but throughout our lives. Now, Ariadne, what is your message for adolescents who are facing mental health problems or wish to care for their mental health? I would have to say, speak about things. Do not remain silent. Keeping it to yourself will not resolve the problems. They will not make the problems disappear magically. It will enhance the problem. It will it will actually worsen the problem. So do not leave it inside you. It definitely won't help. So speak and express your emotions. I love how your three opinions have connected. I don't think that if we were able to write this on a script, it would have been connected as perfectly as you just did. So being able to communicate and self-awareness. Ana Beatriz, what is your message for adolescents that are facing mental health or wish to care for their mental health?
Procure ajuda da sua família.
Seek for assistance,
Você não está
for,
sozinho.
for help within
Estamos
their
juntos
support networks, but at the same time understand they're not alone. You are not alone. Look for things that help you relax, that make you feel better. I think that's my message. Very well. I Just as we mentioned throughout our exchange, sometimes we feel uncomfortable. We feel a little bit of shame. We don't know if we're going to be judged. So we don't need to think about it and just try to communicate in the best way possible. Thank you so much for sharing the fact that we meet so many young people that have so much to share. Definitely helps us. We wish you the greatest success in all your future projects. It's really enhancing to listen to so many young people from the region, listen to their experiences as well. And we will also like to thank those that are joining in and that have joined in, those that have shared your recommendations, your comments from the different spaces, Jimena, Molina, Lisandro, Alejandro. Thank you so much to one and all. Thank you for your participation throughout the event. It's been a tremendous opportunity. The fact that we're here with Ana Gabriela, with Ana Beatriz, with
Se me traba un poco la lengua
Oof,
con unos
I am
términos
sorry. I
técnicos.
think I mixed up the name a little bit, but it's okay. Now we would like to move on to the next item in the agenda, and we would like to invite our regional director to UNICEF for Latin America and the Caribbean, Jean Gok.
Sus historias, desafíos
Dear Jean, you
¿Qué
heard
sucede
our
para
young
enfrentar estos desafíos?
participants.
¿Cuál es el mensaje
You
de
heard their stories, their challenges, and solutions. What can we do to face these challenges? What is UNICEF's message today? Thank you so much to all panel speakers, to all young people and adults here with us today. So powerful, everything I've heard and seen from the videos you recently shared. I am very grateful for your sincerity and trust in sharing your testimonies today. And at the same time, it shocks me and it hurts me to hear that Andrea had to spend her birthday locked up in white walls. This really hurt me. Her experience reminded me of a young man I met some time ago in Ecuador on one of my trips with UNICEF in the region. This boy felt like you and found shelter in art to openly express his emotions. We are all able to find a way to express ourselves, our feelings, maybe through artistic expressions, art, and music, just as our participants shared, or through any other mean that may allow us to express ourselves. It's very important that whatever you're feeling and thinking is not locked up inside you. It's easier for you to find the exit door if you seek for help in an early stage. I realize the magnitude of the impact of the pandemic on your well being as I hear your comments and your participations on how you feel and how you are. And it's not something you can see, it's not something that is seen at a glance. It's definitely a a collective discomfort. It's something that we've all gone through it in one way or another, maybe feeling uncomfortable, feeling not so well throughout this month. And this is an issue that before was not taken into consideration so seriously. And let me tell you a personal experience. When I was young, my older sister, she was not able to sleep. She woke up at night, she started cooking, she started cleaning, and one day she ended up in the hospital. And back then, you did not talk about these problems. So it's not about being strong. It's not about keeping the issues to ourselves. It's about recognizing it and it's about breaking the silence. Today, we have shown it is possible for us to create awareness, to generate awareness, and say, we're not okay, we're not well, without judging anyone. You are the present and the future of Latin America and the Caribbean. It is the concern and the task of all, because we all lose when you, the young people, the adolescents, when you don't feel well, We all lose when you cannot study, when you cannot work, and when you are not able to positively contribute to society and the economy. Your well-being is important because if you are the bright future, and if you're not well, we all lose. As the data showed in the State of the World's Children's Report, the cost to society is enormous. More than $30 billion are lost to the region's economies each year due to mental health disorders in young people. This is not an individual problem, so we have to face this situation as a collective task. Governments have a moral obligation to respond to these needs so that in every space, homes, schools, municipalities, hospitals, young people require support to prevent and respond to their stress. Sometimes in schools, educators sometimes don't have the knowledge to support them. Several schools I have visited in the region, they don't necessarily have a psychologist to assist them in these topics. You have UNICEF's support, you have my support, so we may build this space in order for us to leave and apply the necessary tools to care for your mental health, in order for us to feel safe, in order for us to be able to say, today I am not well, and it's okay. So thank you so much. I am here to support. Thank you so much, Jean. Thank you so much for listening to us, and so important what you highlighted. Thank you so much for your conditional support and the support for us to break the silence and in order for us to take action for our mental health. And please receive the applause and appreciation from our friends participating today. And now we have reached the end of our event. We are very excited to see the amount of adolescents and young people who have joined in from so many parts of the region. Right, Chava? That's right. And before we close, we think it's very important because I definitely want to congratulate our children, all adolescents that participated. Before we wrap up, please don't leave. I think it's very important for us to share the following messages. If you feel discouraged, with much on your mind, with low energy, with little desire to leave the house and be friends with, see your friends or family, it's actually very important for you to seek support by following the advices we published today.
Y hablar
Share what concerns you with someone you trust. Remind yourself that many people have been through the same thing and talking about it helps. Try to keep a healthy routine, sleep well, eat well, do some sports every day, spend time with people who make you feel good, who make you feel loved. If you feel nobody understands you, and even if you try, nothing helps. If you feel your concentration, your sleep, your appetite are affected and you have sudden mood swings, it is advisable for you to seek help from a professional. There is probably a service nearby. Besides this, we have compiled a list of support services available in different countries of the region. You may access this list by going to the UNICEF website on the screen. At this given point in time, we are wrapping up Maria Esperanza. This is so crazy how time flies. And we would like to request a round of applause for the entire team that made this a possibility. Truthfully, without their coordination, and without their guidance, without the script, without the rehearsals, it wouldn't have been possible. And thank you so much for all the young people that have participated today. Thank you so much for your support and congratulate you. So, round of applause in the chat box. Maria Esperanza, so fast. I am very excited, and this is an exciting experience. And I would like to share that during the event, we were sharing some screens that basically provide information on the report from the State of the World's Children Report 2021. And remember, you may access the information and through Facebook and YouTube. Without further ado, thank you so much for your participation. Hugs from a distance from Mexico. We hope you learned much. It's been quite entertaining, but most of all, I hope it generates awareness at home about being able to access mental health assistance, to be able to recognize your emotions, to seek for help in order for this to actually change something in us, in order for us to generate change in the lives of young people that we were able to address today. Thank you so much for joining in. Goodbye.